folks, it's me, Whitney Moore, and I'm so excited. You can probably tell by my shirt that today is Zappa Day, and joining us is going to be Ahmet Zappa, who is the CEO of Zappa Records and the manager of the Zappa estate. So I'm so excited to be speaking with him. Hopefully we'll get some juicy tidbits about his experience with Tower Records and what it is like to sort of work behind the scenes in the music industry. I'm super excited about that. So Ahmet's going to be joining us in just a few, and as always, please ask questions in the chat. We love reading what you guys have to say. I know that Ahmet has some really exciting things planned for the records release. In fact, there's a bit of news yesterday that came out that I'll wait on, but some super exciting things happening if you are a Frank Zappa fan. What is up, everybody? And here's Ahmet. Let me just make sure.
Inside. I'm wearing
sunglasses.
I'm wearing sunglasses.
Hey, Ahmet, how are you doing?
Well, if you call just, hanging by a thread good, then yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure we can all feel that. How has your quarantine been going?
It's a lot of quarantine work. I feel like Corey Hart right now with my sunglasses. I've been accused of somehow recreating an Ed Hardy t-shirt, because this was we were making tie-dye with the kids, and my wife is like, all you've done is made an ugly shirt.
Oh no.
And I'm all about it.
Well, before, when we were allowed to go out shopping, I did go to Melrose and I saw Ed Hardy shirts like in stores with that trucker hat. So
yeah,
I don't know how long it's been, but they're back.
You didn't pick up a classic Van Dutch hat?
I didn't. And now I'm regretting it because it's hot outside. I'm going to need something to shield my eyes and block out the haters.
Well, can I pour you a cocktail?
Yes, please. Wow, what is that? Oh my God. What you got back there?
Well, we got lots of things. What are you in the mood for?
Gin.
Gin. Okay. Well, we have you want some Knickerbocker?
Oh, I am a huge Knickerbocker fan.
I'm gonna have a just a classic. Let's get
Hendrix. Yeah, you can never go wrong. Do you have like a gin and tonic fave add-in? I love to add Saint Germain to mine.
I got it all here. I've full-blown alcoholic while in quarantine, and I mean.
I am so jealous of your setup. My family has been doing weekly wine chats where every person, it's like a 15-person Zoom chat, and it's super chaotic. But we just switched to cocktails. So it's going to be 15 people just getting hammered every week and yelling over each other on Zoom.
I'm just adding in the magic. Here we go.
Beautiful.
A little tonic. And, yeah, I'm just going to pour in the gin. And then let's talk all things, new in Zappa world and,
Yeah, I'm so excited to speak with you because I have been... we've been doing this series for a couple weeks now, and I've interviewed musicians before, but I've never really spoken to someone who is really behind the scenes and deals with the inner workings of the music industry. So I'm so excited that you're on today.
My pleasure. I'm so excited.
Oh, I think we're losing you. There you are.
Calling me, so I had to... I'm so excited that Tower Records is back with a vengeance. That's great.
Yeah. So let's start with that. Did you grow up in LA? Do you have stories about hanging out at Tower Records? What was your experience with them growing up? I
have an endless amount of stories. Tower Records was my everything. I love that you guys are back. I'm going to take these off now. That's really not necessary. It's more I was just hiding my puppy alcohol eyes. I mean, one story in particular that's kind of relevant to all of the releases that we do is Joe Travers. He's an amazing musician, played with lots of bands. We were in a band together. I met him in Boston at Tower Records, and he was just a big fan of my dad's music and super, nice guy. Weirdo in the best way. And he wound up moving to Los Angeles and I met him again at Tower Records. He worked there, and we just became really good friends. That's how we got into the band, and by proxy, if it wasn't for Tower Records, you actually wouldn't have a lot of the releases that we put out, because Joe is the guy who is, mines the vault for all the goodness,
Yeah, and you guys are putting out so much cool stuff. I saw yesterday on the website you guys announced this like giant box set that you guys are doing with the Mothers of Invention. Tell me about that.
It's awesome. I love Mark and Howard. Like they're insane in their harmonies and just their comedy, their attitude. I love that moment in time, and I was really anxious to have it's the Mother's Box, isn't it? It's 1970. They're all just in their fucking prime, and the box set is bananas. Bananas. It's so good.
There are so many collectors, and I think especially right now with everything that's going on, everyone is just really clinging to their physical media, especially because, I don't know about you, but my internet has been shot most of the time because everybody's working from home.
Yeah, so everyone's internet has COVID. It also affects the internet.
It does, yeah. And I think that a lot of people are so excited right now to be getting back into record collecting, and this box set sounds insane because it's new unreleased music, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's got something for everybody. I mean, it's songs and versions of things, but just done in a its unique way in that moment in time. A lot of what my dad would do is he would take a recording truck out on the road. He recorded everything. So we have this vault of literally 1 billion tapes, and you don't know what's on them until you have an idea of what's on them because what's written on the spine of the tape. But you don't really know what sort of gems are in there, and they would also record rehearsals sometimes. I was chatting with Steve I, not to change the subject from the Mother's Box, but I was talking to Steve. And I never asked him this question. I said in the 80s when you guys were recording a lot, because we haven't kind of focused on some of those records that Steve was participating on and when he was a member of the band. And he just started telling me that, oh yeah, there's tons of other songs, new material, and like new material as in stuff that I've never heard. Some of the things on the 200 Motels. That's an anniversary that's coming up. Some of the things on the Mother's Box, like I was saying, it's just like super rockin' versions, like alt versions of things that you can find. I don't want to spoil what's on there. That's like the gist of it. We pride ourselves on being completists because we're super like record nerds. Here's our record player.
Yes.
That we use when we're, making sure the vinyl's all set up, right?
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
About is that is actually the sound waves from the song Sofa, one of my dad's songs, on the front.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, we're obsessed. No, we really take our vinyl seriously. We pride ourselves in all that. Turning more lights on. Sorry, I have to talk and pace, and maybe it's making people
honestly, that's actually been my favorite thing about these at-home interviews is sometimes we'll get a little cribs tour and we'll get to see what people's setups are, what their prized records are, what their merch is. So maybe you can take us on a tour and show us some of your cool stuff.
Well, I'll show you one sort of Tower Records member of the family, my dear friend Jeff Krelitz. There is a place of distinction. He gave me something, and I am obsessed with it. So it lives in my office on its own chair, a golden squirrel.
That's amazing.
And
that Jeff's a pretty okay guy.
I've known Jeff for many, many, many years. So, I'm just thrilled about, again, all things Tower Records. Yes. But fire away. I don't know what I was talking about because the gin is kicking in. When you haven't had breakfast, and
Nothing like a classic morning gin to kick your interview off,
yeah,
right?
I'm,
Well, I have a million questions for you, but I guess I would like to start with I'm not a musician. I'm a huge music fan, but I have no idea what the inside of the industry looks like. As the manager of the Zappa estate and the CEO of Zappa Records, what does your workday look like, and what can you take us through the process of what it means to be those things?
sure. Well, I'll start a couple of years ago. It's a family-run organization. I had nothing to do really with the business side of the family business.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that my mother and father always did. My mom really changed the industry with my father in many ways. I'll just give you an example of the uniqueness of my mom. So my dad would go out on tour, and he was a person of discerning tastes, and he might, let's just say, have some dalliances, hang out with some ladies, and stay at nice hotels. And my mother would see the bills and be like, what the fuck? You're spending all the money that you're spending on these groupies, right? Instead of doing something, I guess, I don't know, reacting to the relationship, what she does is like, I need to buy a computer. And my dad would be like, at that time, buying like a Mac was $1 billion.
Yeah.
So he was like, that's too expensive. And she's like, oh, really? Like, would go down the receipts. So she's like, fuck it. And whatever my dad would spend on the people he was boning, she would reinvest into the family business. Okay. So
I love that.
she started a mail order business, and at all the shows, she would collect everyone's information, and she started communicating back and forth. This was obviously before email. And it was something where you would open up a box and, do your correspondence and put together flyers. And, it was this kind of, this personal one-on-one relationship that my father and my mother cultivated. We had this hotline, where you could call the office, 818-PUMPKIN, which still exists. And you could, hear about what's going on, and that's how she grew the business. And it was a very independent scenario, because my dad had all these lawsuits and changed contract law because there was one kerfuffle with a label where they're like, you owe us a bunch of records, and this is the abbreviated version of this tale, where he's like, all right, he just dropped off a bunch of records. He's like, I'm out. And which then enabled him to do some other things. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but basically the day-to-day is I learned a lot from hearing the stories from my parents. Mm-hmm. When my mother passed, I really had to have an understanding of the day-to-day, which I was totally unaware of what it's like to be an archaeologist, mining the vault, working closely with the team that was already here, and they're all amazing people. Like I was mentioning earlier before, Joe Travers, Mike Mesker, Holland, Melanie, Aaron. We have this amazing family of people that have been with us for so long, and it's, it feels good to do what we're doing, and we love the music. It's all about the music first, because music is the best. And when we go and try to do a project like the Mother's Box, for instance, we try to find like all the photos, any kind of things, connective tissue that might relate to it, the ephemera,
Yeah, let's talk about specifically Mother's Box, just because that's a super recent example. How long did it take to put together that set and and find all the photos and everything, like you were saying?
Oh, we got pretty organized. I think it was a little. I do things differently than how my mother was doing it. We now plan in advance and try to get all the materials, ready, because they're big projects.
Yeah.
So they take a considerable amount of time to do them, and we're listening to, when people go to Zappa.com and talk about the things that they're interested in, we take that to heart, so and then we kind of look at the catalog and see, like, are there moments in time, like, how are we feeling internally too about, I want to hear more of this moment in time, this era of music. And it just felt, with this box, I think all of us were like, we need to do a super awesome, celebration of the mothers, and the fact that 50 years ago is when, this music first debuted, and then you listen to it and you're like, they just fucking killed it. Crushing it.
Yeah, that's insane that it's been 50 years. Wow, that's amazing, and what a great time for us to be getting this kind of music. I want to know, what do you think Frank would make out of this current situation? What kind of music would he be putting together right now? Do you think that he would be taking creative inspiration from all this insane shit we're going through?
Oh, for sure. By the way, this is my first time doing an Instagram Live, and I've been just kind of staring only at your face, and I can see now that people are like, "Yo, Ahmet, what's up?"
Sounds like I got a ton
yeah, you can see the chat, and then I'm sure people are asking questions, so feel free to shout people out too. We have a really good time with this.
Oh, thanks, Juanito.
He's looking smooth. That's always easy. Yeah.
I wasn't even listening. Sorry, I was too involved in my own ego. Where someone says I look smooth, I'm like, I'll take it.
It's very distracting, and sometimes, sometimes you just want to. That's why you should try going live solo sometime and just talking to people, because it's a great way to connect with people. But
I don't think this is going to be my norm.
What about gin and tonics in the morning?
Oh, I'm all about that. That's fine.
I would love to know, like, do you think that your father would have, like, a humorous take on it? Do you think, what would you imagine the music to come out of this quarantine, this pandemic would be?
I actually feel like Frank was, I know he was a futurist, and I think he's already written the music that predicted these kinds of situations, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of moments in time that have popped up, even politically, where my father's, he passed away many, many, many years ago. So it is strange when you look at his lyrical content and what he was talking about, even in the press, and his politics and what he was concerned about. He was prophetic. But if he was here now, I think he would love the fact that more artists are empowered in the way that we're communicating right now. This kind of technology didn't exist. He was always thinking about these kinds of things, showing up in the future. He was someone who predicted, that music would be distributed telephonically. He wrote many papers about that, as an example. I mean, when I say he was a futurist, he had this awesome business mind. He's a very creative person, on top of, the extraordinary music that he wrote. So I think that he would be able to collaborate with people, as he would just go down into the studio. I think he would have worked with many musicians that you would, like, when I sit back and think, it would be so awesome if Frank ever collaborated with X, Y, or Z.
Who is in your mind when you think about that? Because I don't know, Zappa, Kanye would be cool. Well, I feel like
loved WA. So, like, that to me, I wish would have happened. Like, after the PMRC stuff, I like to, in a parallel universe, when my dad survived and actually became president of the United States, I think the weird part would be, it would have been like him and Ice Cube talking politics and also making music.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting, because that is something that is sort of a side effect of this face-to-face technology we have, is celebrities and musicians have this ability now to connect directly with their fans and talk about everything, politics, futurism. And by the way, Frank Zappa predicting coronavirus is my favorite new hot take of 2020. I am going to spread that around like wildfire.
Well, he was always writing about weird scenarios like that. I mean, it's not a one-to-one comparison. He didn't write a song called "Coronavirus is going to happen in 2020." writing music that is about, evil ingredients in mashed potatoes, creating, let's say, mammy nuns and a thingfish. I mean, the idea that there's a secret government conspiracy. So if you're like me and you think that wet markets are absolutely terrifying and that you could get something like COVID from eating a wet bat, then, you could go that way. You could believe that. Or you might think that this was made in a lab. Like my dad loved this book. You can try to find it, called A Higher Form of Killing. And in there, it documents a lot of these laboratories that made a bunch of these illnesses that, they kind of seem like they were manufactured. I don't know.
I am absolutely gonna look up that because I've been loving all the conspiracy theories. I mean, I'm online all day, every day, so I'm always looking at weird shit no matter what. So I will check that out.
With all the 5G towers that have been installed, right? I have grown a small vestigial tail, and it's rapidly expanding. And no, it's not an eternal heading. It's an actual biological extension of my own epidermis. So I'm just warning you, 5G will make humans grow bat wings like a wet market and alligator tails. That's my prediction.
That's the kind of mutation I'm down for, honestly.
You look good with bat wings and an alligator tail. At least that's what the internet says.
You know what? I bet that there's probably some freaky drawings out there somewhere on Reddit we could find.
Here's what we got on the street.
Oh wow! I don't know if those people are social distancing.
Yeah, we got people angry at a parking meter person. Yeah.
Whoa.
Good people watching.
Is that Larchbot?
Maybe it is. Maybe.
Just shouldn't call out your place. Okay, so I don't know if you have noticed this, but I'm wearing probably a definitely bootleg Zappa shirt that my husband found at a thrift store forever ago, and that it reminds me to ask you about the bootleg records and how there are so many bootlegs of Zappa out there, like more than any other artist. What do you think that speaks to?
I mean, I don't know if it's more than any other artist, but it could be damn close. That culture of people recording concerts and then sharing them, and I mean, I think the Grateful Dead probably has way more, but bootlegs, I suppose. But Frank was just someone who, the reason why he didn't like the bootleg scenario is he was recording everything, and that might make it into a future release. He's paying for all of this stuff, and he worked in a different way. So. At one point, he partnered up with Rhino Records and did this thing called Beat the Boots. And he bootlegged the bootleggers. And he put out all of these, the bootleg records as is. And it's a really cool project. And who knows, maybe something like that will resurface. I mean, he played so many shows, and there's just, so much awesome out there. And so much. Some of those bootlegs just sound terrible. That's another thing. We care about the sonic excellence, but
that's so interesting to me because
my feelings on the bootleg stuff is there's also some really good creative people out there that I wish that they would take their talents and work with us on even some of the designs, because that's fucking awesome. Some good T-shirts. Speaking of which, the one that you're wearing.
I have truly no idea where this surfaced, but I remembered this morning. I was like, I do have a Zappa shirt, but it's definitely not licensed.
Well, the thing about that is, it's not even, aside from the fact that it's, my father's face on there and that aspect of the business. The other thing that's fucked up is when someone takes an image, that's the photographer's image. So they're screwing over multiple people in some cases. Yeah. And that's a bummer, because that's how people actually make money, and everyone should be transparent and do things in the right way.
Yeah, something I am certain of is that it was probably from a thrift store for a couple bucks, so at least it wasn't some giant company.
Richard, what does it say?
Bruno CP.
Yeah, Portuguese Fenders is so good. It fucking is. That's off the. We did a little a little teaser today.
Yeah.
On Spotify, you can go check it out. Listen to Portuguese Fan. It's fucking awesome. That's just a small sample of what is to come off of the 200. Why do I keep saying 200 motels? Maybe because I'm doing something. You never know. But with the mother, that's what's happening.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think I saw that on the site. That's going to be on Mothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so exciting. It's to your point about how Frank was really a fan of reworking and re-recording and constantly retooling things and having like lots of different versions of songs. I think that there's a great parallel between that and the bootleg album because, oh shit, who's that?
It's an internet cat. Found it on the internet and had to have it.
That is great.
Yeah,
I feel like there's something there with bootleg music and how it changes the sound of something, and how I know, for example, was always like, there's many different versions of songs out there.
Certainly. I mean, I used to be someone who just liked studio records, and this opinion was formed when I was like 10 or 11. I remember one of my all-time favorite bands is Kiss, right? I cannot tell you how much I love Kiss. And wait, I'll show you something. So my this is what I'm doing. My friend Andrew Daw, he also is a massive Kiss fan, as well as a proper shout out to Brendan Smith and Richard Cheltinga and Jeff Bezzuti. Look at that bad boy. Oh yeah.
Oh, that is so sick.
There's,
oh my gosh.
There's the man himself. I personally feel like Gene Simmons is my official favorite singer of the band. I like more of his hits.
I dated his son for a couple weeks.
Oh, good. That's really
nice
good.
Guy.
That's really good. That throw bat wings and an alligator tail for sure.
That's my only piece of like LA celebrity culture that I have.
You got Simmons sickness. Congrats.
That's fair, yeah. By the way, I feel like a Frank Zappa lamp like that would be so cool. I would love to see something like that. Are there Zappa figures or like posables? Because I'm like a comic book person, and so anytime there's like exclusive action figures, that's what I geek out about. So,
well, I mean, we've done some pretty fun things. Not that they're action figures, like our Halloween box sets, which we're all super proud of. We try to do different Halloween costumes where you can dress up as Frank in different ways, and there might be a new awesome one in the near future. Last year we did Frankenstein. Here's a little fun little thing. This was my dad's. He wrote a lot of his early music on this typewriter.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, a lot of I believe that a lot of the 200 motels and other things and dialogue and what have you. He would travel with that in his little suitcase, along with an espresso machine.
That's a lot to lug around.
Yep. Here's just weird things. This was hanging up in the studio bathroom. This is the kind of sense of humor that existed. Here's a diagram of a toilet. I don't that out.
In case you need to remember how to use it.
Yeah.
That is awesome. What else you got? I'm loving this Cribs tour. This is so cool.
Like me, but when the big toilet paper scare of 2020, which I still think is in effect in some places, I was like, all right, well, maybe there's those awesome toilet seats that
yes.
have a sprinkler system for your anus. So, like, let's see if those are available. Sold out.
Dude, I got a bidet like 2 weeks into this, and I gotta say, it's great.
Do people have to come and like and maintain it? Like, do like people knock at the door like, we're here to check the anus sprinkler system?
No, it's just they mail you it. It's a toilet seat, but it's got like heated seats and like an air dryer and a deodorizer and warm water. Best upgrade of 2020.
Does it make a grilled cheese sandwich? Does it also have a microwave? So if you would need Hot Pockets made, I mean, because
the future is now. I believe that there should be a snack attachment because with the amount of time I'm spending on the toilet just because it's nice, I should be able to have a snack.
Yeah, this was a friendship test, and you failed because that's all disgusting. While sitting on a toilet and eating food, That is caveman awesome. Actually, I take it back. You know, congratulations. I'm really into what you're talking about.
My lizard tail is showing.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that butterfly behind you?
Oh, it's the chrysalis when I transform and become, you know, the drag from like any nightmare of your dreams. The butterfly
Oh, yeah.
picture I like.
I also want to talk about the hologram tour because I was just reading, I didn't get to go, but last year it seemed like it was so cool as an experience. And I want to know what that process was like. I know Frank talked about it and like doing something like that in the future. And like you said, he was a futurist. So what was that process? What was bringing that to life like?
Oh, that was a really awesome. Wait, hold on a second. I know I won't answer that question, but we were talking about bootlegs. That's what used to be at all the shows.
Whoa!
I found that down at Joe's garage, like stashed away in a corner, and I was like, I fucking remember those. We would put them up.
Actually used to bring giant. I guess that's the only way you could do it, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So they'd have to bring those signs on tour. I was like, that's fucking badass. I'm gonna.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah, the process of working on the hologram tour. Well, first, it was something that Frank always talked to me about. So it was this conversation. You know, he wanted to start this company where he could stay home more and send a hologram out on the road. Okay, this is many years ago that he's thinking about this. And he started work. He tried to raise a bunch of money to do that. He thought that would be a benefit for other artists as well. And when he would, you know, discuss it, it seemed pretty crazy because he'd also say like, yeah, I think he was working with this guy named John Law, who might have been friends with my grandfather. My grandfather was a rear admiral in the Navy and he was there at Area 51. He worked on the Polaris submarine and
cool.
I mean, a bunch of, basically he was like James Bond. If you look up the Secret War of Sweden, ask the internet, you'll see my grandfather's name pop up.
Writing that down.
And he did some kind of crazy spy work where he'd like paint a U.S. sub to look like a Russian sub, and drive it into enemy territory and put microphones at the bottom of the ocean to you know, track all the enemy subs. So he was a real, you know, awesome guy. But anyway, so this community, my dad's dad also, you know, worked in some interesting places, and so my father's science mind in I think who he spoke to as fans, you know, like the people that liked his music, he just attracted a different kind of an audience, a really cerebral audience, and my dad was a really deep thinker, so him and John Law started talking about you know, this hologram project, and they envisioned being able to project it. I could be totally fucking wrong about this little factoid here. Projecting the media into the stenosphere. I could have the stenosphere part wrong, but the notion that you could, across great distances, tune in and then visually see in very large scale these images, like project them across oceans and things of that nature. As well as being able to take them on tour and you know, they were contemplating a bunch of things. So I always thought that was fascinating as a kid to know this side of my dad's brain. And as an example, he'd sit me in the studio and he would show me how he would, you know, mix the music and work with different frequencies for a different, you know, effect on your psyche. You know, certain frequencies can make you more amorous. Certain frequencies can, you know, activate cellular regeneration.
Okay, I know about the brown note, but what is the love note?
You just have to, you know, look up some.
I have to mess around.
Ask the internet. I can bore you all day long on that. That will be for another time, because I am pretty geeky in the sound space. You know, I have a few patents that deal with these kinds of things. Inspired by my father and the work that he was doing, but more on the hologram. So where we started was identifying music that would be new to people. So it would be just cool to hear different versions of things. If you closed your eyes and you went to the hologram show and you didn't watch any of the visuals, your experience was Frank singing, Frank playing guitar with guys he loved to play with. And that's where we started, because it's about the music first. And everyone's hung up on the word hologram, certainly because my dad was interested in it. But what we tried to do is make this really immersive multimedia experience. And I dove into my childhood and tried to find touch points that were personal moments for me with Frank. So he loved the movie The Brainiac, as an example. So for Dirty Love, we tried to use elements of, this public domain, really cheesy Mexican horror movie, which is fantastic. You should absolutely.
Maniac, you said?
The Brainiac.
Brainiac. I've never heard of that. I'll check it out. I love horror movies, so I'm gonna put that on my list.
I don't know that this is a good one, but it's definitely. I don't think they meant it to be a comedy. So that, as an example, is a personal memory, and it felt humorous and visually cool to kind of mix that medium in a live stage scenario. We used a lot of. My dad loved Monty Python Flying Circus. He loved Terry Gilliam's style of artwork, and there's a moment where with Stinkfoot, it's very reminiscent of that style of animation that I thought my father would think is really funny. I was able to put my mom and my dad in there and kind of weave this story. That whole story about Stinkfoot is actually about this Stinkfoot pandemic that takes over the world and kind of shuts everything down. So
wow.
that's at least visually what you see. That's the visual component I added to, to go along with the music. But the entire show, from song to song to song, you were bombarded by a different immersive style of animation, filmmaking, stuff from the vault, behind the scenes footage of just stuff that people hadn't seen. It was more of a love letter to my dad than anything else. And holographically, like a photoreal version of my father, which took a long time to get right. He showed up in that form, like 3 or 4 times in the show. But there's different versions of him that show up in the show. So for the people that didn't get a chance to see it, you will get a chance to see it in the future for sure, because we've added more to it. But it is, I don't really love the word hologram, because there's been other experiences where people are just like, fuck that. And we're trying to do something different and improve and, do something better. And I'm not really trying to poo-poo other people that got into that space.
The word hologram kind of undersells the experience, because it sounds like it's more immersive than that.
Our shows are 100%, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other technology that you would like to bring to a future Zappa concert? Like, I know I'm really interested in VR. I'm really interested in augmented reality. Is there anything like that really excites you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love what they've been doing in Fortnite. And I like that it's current artists. And I would say, having that kind of a stage or a platform where people can experience music. I think should there ever be a desire for legacy artists like my dad or other bands, that would be cool. I mean, if Bad Company was playing inside Fortnite, I'd fucking buy a ticket right now.
Yeah, It's so cool, and especially because we're all home. I just busted out my VR for the first time in like 6 months, and I was like, oh yeah, I can go to a totally different place, and I'm home anyways because I have to be home.
But
so now more than ever we need it.
I do think that there will be more of those kinds of experiences, and they'll be cool, and they'll have to be different enough to get people, I think, to really want to go there. I mean, with a tour, you're going from city to city, and what I worry about is it's really time intensive and very expensive to build these immersive experiences in these worlds. And I don't know if a one and done kind of situation will sustain itself. So, my fantasy is that there's a virtual club that is built that people like. If you could go to the whiskey, right, and that was a destination that we knew that the whiskey was being booked. That's something that makes sense to me because then I can keep going back to the same place and have an understanding, and it feels like it's manageable. But constantly building these immersive worlds, I think it's probably hard for a lot of artists to do that. I think they actually need an environment. I could be wrong about this, but I think you need an environment that you can just keep plugging into that can give you really rewarding immersive experiences. So that's interesting to me,
Yeah, I wonder what a digital roadie's job would be like. Probably a programmer, I guess.
I mean, a digital roadie, don't have me answer that question because their responsibilities back in the day were numerous.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left, and this has been so fun chatting with you and seeing some of the cool stuff that you have. But I would love for you to just take the floor and talk a little bit about your experience and what you hope Frank Zappa fans get out of these new releases and anything else you want to talk about, because you're so fun to talk to.
Well, thank you. But I would say every journey, putting out the product is honestly a rediscovery. So for me, it's a very different experience. I feel like I'm getting to know my father more, and because he's passed away, I really appreciate the fact that I feel really blessed in that if I want to hear my dad's laughter or him talking, that I have that ability. I don't know that other people who lost someone have that, and that's something I don't take lightly. And then when you apply it to, making a product, a lot of what happens for me on a personal level is I'm seeing pictures I've never seen before, and I'm hearing things I've never seen before. So that's the lens and the way I interpret all of these things, and the way it makes me feel is the way I hope people feel about it as well. I mean, honestly, a lot of Zappa fans are way more knowledgeable about the music in some cases than I am. I know a lot more of just the kind of behind the scenes business stuff, which might not be appealing to them, but from that moment in time at that show, because some of the people were there and they have really great insights. So I just hope that with the things that we put out, first that people love them, that they can appreciate that it takes a village to make these things. It's not me. I don't do it alone. I work really closely with our partners at Universal, who I love. I mean, they've been phenomenal partners, but it's the Zappa team. And, we have staff meetings and we get to go through this stuff. And Frank is really funny. So it's just fun to hear the music, and the musicians that play with him were always like the greatest in the world. So it's always a mind-blowing experience. And I just really want people to have that, but also know that it's, this might be the wrong way to say this, but I know that it's a commercial enterprise, but I feel like we are archaeologists and trying to take these moments in time. Like, that's how my brain is. Like, I'm such a completist that I'm trying to make these moments and give as much access to the fans as possible with anything that we find. And I've had these moments where we've found things after the fact that absolutely devastate me, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Like,
really?
In this box set, because you'll stumble across something and you're like, that fucking would have been perfect in this, god damn it, so there's a lot of joy that goes into this, and that's really what I want people to feel is music is the best. It takes you to another place. I often say this, I know my dad was a musician, but I feel like he was a musician, a magical musician. And there are very few musicians that have walked this earth, and he was one of them.
I love that. And also, you saying that makes me really want to have like an odds and ends box set of stuff where you find later and you're like, oh, that would have been great. So put that in your idea box.
You know, we think alike. There are like, hey, I'm just hypothetically, you know, Frank did weird covers. I was like, what? What the fuck is this that I'm listening to? Or how about all the awesome shit that no one's ever heard with him and Captain Beefheart?
Yeah.
That stuff is fucking hilarious and needs to come out. There are so many things, but there's so little time. So we're methodical. We don't want to overwhelm people with content because everyone has choices out there and they're spending money on other musical experiences. So, you know, we want to also have the time, because it's also exhausting putting these things together, to make sure the music sounds right, the art's right, all of that. So I promise everyone out there, and all of you new Tower Records fans, if you do not know what Tower Records it was a sanctuary, and I hope it becomes an even greater sanctuary for artists. And maybe Tower Records needs to become a new virtual spot where all musicians can play. Just saying.
I love that.
Because there used to be lots of in-store. I mean, I played one. You know, when my brother and I were in a band, we'd go to Tower Records and do some in-stores. But yeah, I'm done. I'm no food, drinking with you. That's not a good idea. I don't know if this was enjoyable, but thank you for whoever was listening or paying attention. You know,
Ahmet,
I'll keep doing it.
I love this conversation, and I'm seeing a lot of comments that are like, overwhelm us, please. So Frank Zappa fans in the comments, please know, I guess the major takeaway is that there's no shortage of great Zappa content that you can find. Oh, what is that? Dear Ahmet.
That's a good question.
Oh my gosh.
That makes me cry. This is like what I look at in my office, and I'm so grateful. He wrote that before he passed. So like he's very much with me. Like I'm getting all misty-eyed right now thinking about it. You know? So it's a personal experience. So when someone buys something, it's like getting a good bottle of wine. So many people actually in the whole product chain, you know, there's so many people have to care to make that taste yummy. It's the same thing here.